Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are gathered here to examine what will be proven to be the completely meritless lawsuit against 4 innocent investors. Under our system of civil justice, the burden of proof is always upon the plaintiff in a civil case, in the same manner that the burden of proof is on the prosecution in a criminal case. Neither defendant has to prove innocence, although we shall be able to quite easily do exactly that, in this case. We know and believe that you, the jury, are capable of examining this case based solely upon the law and the merits of the case, or the lack thereof. Now the plaintiffs shall want, in fact, the plaintiffs will need, for you to get caught up in the hype, and the smoke and mirrors and to lose focus upon what exactly is the law. But no matter what they may try, no matter how convoluted and ridiculous their emotional drama, we shall be here to keep this case on track. Because we trust you to be fair and impartial and also studious of the facts, we're going to give you some tips from the very beginning. You might want to write down these things in your notes. Point number 1. Was BitConnect a scam? We don't have to prove that it wasn't. They have to prove that it was. Point number 2. Were any of my clients in on the scam? Again, we don't have to prove that they weren't, the legal burden is upon them to prove that they were. Point number 3. Did any of the defendants use fear, intimidation, pressure, force, coercion, or in any way take advantage of what in legal parlance would be called an unfair advantage? And just so you know, an unfair advantage is what would exist if a professional were to take advantage of the superior knowledge that they would presumably have if they were in a professional position of trust. What that means is that if I am your accountant, your professional advisor, your financial planner, your doctor, or your lawyer, the law will always hold me to a much higher standard than they would a non-professional if I were to knowingly take advantage of either your ignorance or your presumption that as a professional, I can be trusted. Since none of the defendants were and never claimed to be professional financial advisors or financial planners, we have to look at them as being on an equal and a level playing field with the very people who are now suing them. Not only were none of these defendants operating or communicating from a superior position of presumed trust and accountability, but the evidence will show that each and every one of them took great effort to repeatedly admonish people that they were not your professional or financial advisors. Point number 4. The burden shall be upon each and every plaintiff that's suing, to show and to prove a direct relationship with the defendants and also how the defendants in any way took advantage of that relationship while under contract or in the status of a financial professional, investment advisor, or account. If we allow a completely bogus lawsuit like this to prevail, then where does it end? Where does it end indeed? The plaintiffs are going to try to convince and persuade you that the defendants being sued are somehow responsible for their losses. You're going to hear words like scammers and scam artist. You're going to hear words like Ponzi scheme and pyramid scheme, and crooks, and thieves, and liars, and scammers, and any other pejorative term that they can think of in order to try to push your emotional hot buttons and persuade you that the defendants are bad people and are somehow responsible for their financial losses. As we get deep into this case, and even before it begins, as the jurors sworn to uphold the law, I would encourage you to ask yourself a question, and the question you need to ask yourself is, why are these specific people being sued? Exactly why are they being sued, and not the dozens of other people who did precisely and exactly what these defendants did? And once again I will cite the 2 things that they did. A. They made YouTube videos sharing their experiences with BitConnect. And B. They included a referral link in the description box. That's it. No more. And no less. As you try to figure out why these few individuals are being sued and not the hundreds of other YouTubers who did exactly the same thing, you're going to see that during this case we're going to challenge the plaintiffs to prove how they were directly injured by these people, and they're not going to be able to do so. What's truly interesting also, ladies and gentlemen, is that some of the people who have named themselves and put their names down on this lawsuit as victims, are equally guilty of doing the exact same thing. Sharing their experiences and including an affiliate referral link in the description box. And ladies and gentlemen, our laws are intended to be fair and impartial. They are not to take any extraneous factors into account at all. If something is fraudulent, then it is fraudulent regardless of who engages in it. If something is a crime, then it is a crime regardless of who commits that crime. If you say that Craig Grant, Trevon James, Crypto Nick and Ryan Hillhurst are guilty, and if what they're guilty of is these 2 things, making YouTube videos sharing their experiences, and including a link in the description box, then that means that 100% of the hundreds of other YouTubers who ever made YouTube videos about BitConnect sharing their experiences, who also included a link in the description box, are equally guilty. The law does not take any extraneous factors into account. The problem with these people that are suing is that they lost money. And the only reason they lost money is because they got in too late, or because they did not do the most intelligent thing, which would be to pull their earnings out daily till they recoup their initial investment. But again, these people are adults and these were choices. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not be swayed or distracted by the hype surrounding this case. This case is very simple. Your task gets even more simple. You will be charged with deciding whether or not we want to have a nation founded upon principles of law, order, and the freedoms that we as Americans hold so proudly, the freedoms that we as Americans take such pride in and literally fought and died for, or whether or not we're going to give in to the selfish motivations of those who make choices and decisions of their own free will, and of their own volition with every intent to profit, and then later decide to take the easy way out if it doesn't work out for them, and to suddenly cry foul that they are victims rather than at least semi-cogent and intelligent investors. Despite the hype, drama or legal mumbo-jumbo that will be thrown at you by the other side, this is simply a question of whether or not we as Americans truly do have freedom of speech, and freedom of the press, which our great Constitution states unequivocally, shall not be abridged.